Hey everyone, this is Dr. Drizzle and welcome to the National Parks Expedition Challenge. Today, we're in the Pullman neighborhood in this historic district of Chicago at the Pullman National Monument with Ranger Ve'Amber. It's a little chilly out here today, Ranger Ve'Amber, but thank you so much for letting us come out and visit.
Yeah, no problem. We're hardy here in Chicago.
You are very hardy. I got my boots on, so I think I'm ready. So this is such a beautiful old place, but it's new. Like it's built new. So before we get started about what's here, tell us a little bit, Ranger Ve'Amber, about your journey through to the national parks.
Yeah, so I got interested in the national parks through an internship I took in 2016 at Weir Farm National Historic Site in Connecticut. So I'm originally from the Chicago area, but I heard about the internship, which was for museum services. And from there, I just got introduced to the really big world of the national park. I hadn't even visited my closest national park at the time when I was growing up, which was Indiana Dunes National Park now. And then Pullman actually came up while I was at Weir Farm. They asked, did you know there's a new park in Chicago, new national park? And I said, I had no idea. So that's kind of how I ended up here and working at this very beautiful place.
Well, you went to school for some type of degree. Tell me about that.
So I got my bachelor's degree in archaeology and English in creative writing. And I also received my master's last year in public history.
So you're here, like you are in the national parks now. What a great archaeology, creative writing, English, and now this whole public history has brought you to Pullman National Monument. Now, again, though, you didn't have to travel far because you're actually a Chicagonian. Chicago? What is that?
Chicagoan?
Chicagoan, yes, I'll get that right. You were born here.
I grew up in just a little bit south of Chicago, but my family has always lived here in the city. My mom only grew up a few blocks away, and we went to church here in the city all the time when I was growing up. So I'm very familiar with Chicago and the Chicago land area.
Well, tell us about this beautiful, huge place that we're at today.
This is Pullman National Monument, and Pullman National Monument is not only a national monument, but it's an entire neighborhood. So the monument incorporates everything from 103rd Street to 115th Street, and then east and west it stops at Cottage Grove, and then there are railroad tracks just east of us where it stops. So it's a really big piece, and a lot of people are very surprised when we tell them the National Monument is the entire neighborhood.
Well, what is special about Pullman National Monument, the name even?
The name Pullman actually comes from George Pullman, who was an entrepreneur in the 19th century, and he decided to found the Pullman Palace Car Company, which made these luxurious train cars. So that's what the company became known for. And they also became known for the service that was provided on those train cars that went across the country and also internationally as well, in Europe, Canada, Mexico. So he also, before the company really expanded, he started his first central manufacturing center here in Pullman. So he built a town just south of Chicago called Pullman, Illinois. And it was to incorporate both the workers' housing and the manufacturing for his company. So
he built a town.
He did.
Wow. So he really was serious about what he was doing.
Exactly.
And so I heard it was a planned community. So before we get into the community piece of it, I'm not sure that every kid understands the idea of a Pullman car. So can you tell us a little bit about what a Pullman car consisted of?
So if you think about kind of what equivalent today would be, a lot of people travel across the country on airplanes today, right? And so you'll have like a first class, you'll have economy class, and so the Pullman train cars were the first class way to travel across the country. And at that time, trains were the way you got across the country. There are no highways, there are no airplanes, and the only other way would be by waterways, which could take almost 3 times as longer. So it was the way to travel in style.
And I heard that the food was especially good in these Pullman cars. In fact, they probably some of the best in the country.
Oh yeah. A lot of the kind of media and marketing around Pullman was about the fact that the food that you could get on the train cars could rival what you could get at a first class or a 5-star restaurant in anywhere across the country.
Well, it sounds good. So it makes me think about Pullman actually building this community. What was his purpose in that?
His purpose for building this community was, one, to provide his workers housing, but also, two, he believed the housing that he built could provide his workers a better life. So the idea behind the housing was that it was clean, that it was safe, it was efficient, and it aligned with what the kind of company's goals were.
I noticed that when we're touring the museum, there is a toilet where the gravity pulls the water down. So it looks like he was on the cutting edge of technology. And I also read and saw a video that the waste from that actually went out into the community to help fertilize gardens. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So a lot of the homes here, one of the biggest features was that it had indoor plumbing, which is something we take for granted today. And so the toilets were connected to the water tower here in the neighborhood, and the water tower would help separate the waste and the gray water. And the gray water would go into Lake Calumet, which would be the closest lake nearby, and then the waste would go down to what they called the sewage farm, which would fertilize the crops. And the homes also had a lot of other different great amenities, such as insulation and in the walls, and also really well ventilated homes, so plenty of windows to open, and so it was a really great place to live in terms of amenities.
So there still are these neighborhoods and row houses, if you will. And did I hear that you live in one of these row houses?
I do. I actually walked to work today, which is something a Pullman worker would have done in the 19th century. The town was built to be kind of this walkable city, and so you could walk to wherever you needed to be and to get whatever you needed, such as groceries or food or entertainment.
So there's another story here also. So these Pullman cars, which were extremely extravagant, were also built by very smart and talented people and serviced by them. And I read about a labor strike that happened here in the 1800s. Tell me about that story.
The strike of 1894 happened when, even though the town had all of these great features, the workers also had this tension going on that the company controlled a lot of what could be done here in the neighborhood and where the workers could live. Therefore, when there was a recession, a depression in the country, the workers decided to strike to ask for relief from the company, either in the form of reduced rent or increased wages. And so When the company did not budge, the strike started as the small local strike, but it quickly became a nationwide strike when they were supported by the American Railway Union. And it shut down half of the country because remember, the trains were the way people, but also goods got across the country.
So Mr. Pullman created this town for his business to create transportation where people could travel in style if they wanted to. He also provided many jobs, but there was the other piece of it that the people that worked here wanted to make sure that it was fair for them too. So there's this kind of juxtaposition between, yes, we had a job, but it wasn't always fair. And I think they created the first black Pullman's union.
It wasn't the first black union, but the Pullman Porters were part of one of the first successful black labor unions. And the reason why they were successful was they won one of the first, or they managed to put together the first contract with a major corporation, and that would be Pullman. And they were also one of the first black labor unions to be recognized by the American Federation of Labor.
So a lot of success here from the workers and from the manufacturers. So this is a huge, like you said, place. And we also have these bays here. What happened in the bays?
The bays were used for building the Pullman train cars, and they had the system where the trains would start on one end of the buildings, and then they would work their way down on a piece of equipment called a transfer table. And we kind of compare it as a precursor to the Ford factory line today, but it was basically just a really efficient way to get the train cars in one way, out, and without having to turn them all the way around on these tracks here, moving them sideways onto the next bay and into the next station.
Well, I think we have come upon our STEM challenge. So kids, we're going to do goal number 9, which is infrastructure, industry, and innovation. Obviously, Mr. Pullman was innovative in this dream that he had, but I also feel like these porters, these workers were also very innovative in their ideas to make sure that what they were doing was getting noticed and things were fair. So we know the planned community did a really cool job with their irrigation, their air passage by making the straight lines of the row houses, the insulation. So we're going to ask you to research Pullman and the ideas behind how things were made, and we want you to create something for your future home based on the ideas of Mr. Pullman. So think about that famous toilet where the gravity pulls the water and it moves to other areas in the community. Think about really smart insulated homes that you could build. The big windows that Ranger Ve'Amber was talking about, those windows that let so much light in that would be almost like solar heating instead of having to use regular heat. What idea could you create for a future home? And I want you to think about this. I want this to be equitable for all people to live in. So think about making it cost efficient, making it energy efficient, and then I want you to think about how what you do will impact someone else. Just like the porters thinking that if they fought hard for their rights, it would impact people in the future. So your ideas, your engineering challenge is going to affect the future. So Ranger Ve'Amber, I think that's what we need. We need people to come up with great ideas and figure out how we can do things together and live as good humans together. And we know that our kids have great ideas. They've already solved some problems for rangers at Crater Lake and some parks in Tennessee. So our kids are smart enough to do this, and you never know, they may come up with their own big idea and you can say, wait a minute, I kind of helped inspire that idea for them. So we visit lots of parks across the country, but there's something else unique about this park. Can you tell us?
One of the great things about Pullman National Monument is that it's a partnership park. So we work with all different types of organizations, including the Pullman State Historic Site, the Historic Pullman Foundation, the Pullman House Project, and also the Pullman Porter Museum, the National A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porter Museum.
That makes a lot of sense because this planned community wouldn't have worked without all the people that were here to make it work. So now you're continuing that tradition by having all of these partners as you work together.
Yes, it's the best way to do it, honestly, to be able to help each other out and lift as many voices as we can.
We have kids right now that are sitting in classrooms going, I want to wear the green and brown. Like, I want to be a park ranger. Can you look at that middle camera and just give some advice to our students?
So if you want to become a park ranger, I encourage anyone who's interested to go find your closest national park, whether it's in an urban area or it's all the way out in Yellowstone. Find a park that really inspires you and go learn as much as you can about it.
We can't wait to see your ideas. Make sure that you tag us at Dacia92 and also tag Pullman. We're going to run the tags across the bottom of the screen because they're waiting for your ideas to share with people that come to Pullman National Monument. Thank you so much for having us here today out in this cold air. You're hardy. I'm not used to this, but we did pretty good, right?
Right.
This is a gorgeous place. I love that this is sort of your first big moment into the national parks. I think you're stuck on national parks though now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's where you're going to be. So again, thank you for joining us for the National Parks Expedition Challenge. This is Dr. Drizzle and Ranger Ve'Amber, and we are out of here.